Right, good evening everyone. So welcome to the team call for tonight. We've got an absolutely fabulous speaker for you in the lovely Adele Wimsett. We met Adele a couple of times actually, but I think we really connected when we were in the name of the Bulgaria. The name of the country went out of my head there. And we spent a couple of really nice evenings chatting business, chatting life, chatting all about all about doTerra and everything surrounding it, really, which was really useful for us, particularly. So Adele's got a background in youth justice. She's worked through that with female offenders and ended up sort of managing most of the South Bucks area. So professional background, and then was seeking, I think, some respite from perhaps not the most positive area of the career world, and moved into sort of more holistic and healing in our natural world. She trained in Reiki healing, and she now runs her own women's health practitioner, where doTerra and the essential oils are really central to that, real heart of that sort of business and that opportunity for people. So I think so Adele's now at the platinum level in the business. We also had the pleasure of seeing her speak at the Northampton Leadership, and that's a bit of what Adele's going to share tonight, and that's really about your beliefs not limiting you and not being the barriers to your own growth within doTerra. And so with that, I will hand you over to the very fantastic Adele.
Oh, thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect, yeah.
I'm so rubbish with technology, so I'm glad it's all working. Do you know what? It was really nice to see the energy of your team, because it's really nice seeing a load of guys, because I don't have that in my team. We're all women. So it's really nice to see your energy. It's lovely. So thank you for the intro. Yeah, my name's Adele. I spent 20 years in youth justice, but alongside, I'd always been into alternative health and natural health, and qualified like 15 years ago in various things. And then several years ago, I just had to get out. I didn't have a plan. I just knew that I wanted to work in holistic in that field. And at that time, doTerra kind of pinged onto my Facebook feed. And they were going to be my sideline. I was so naive. I just thought I'd stock a few oils, and if people wanted them, they could buy them off me. But at that point, I had no plan. I just handed my notice in to a very well-paying job. I had no idea what I was going to do. I had no network. I absolutely hated what I knew about network marketing. I knew nothing about essential oils, and just kind of thought, oh, I love these oils, they work really well on my kids, and that was all the thought I put into it, really. But as my doTerra journey has come along, I have had probably most of the limiting beliefs and barriers that have come up. I think that I hear other people talk about, I'm like, yeah, had that, and I had a really supportive upline that I could just voice note and kind of rant about with things, and have been able to work through a lot of them. But I think the reason I feel really passionately about this is that I see a lot of people who I think are so capable and would be amazing at doing the business, but there's not a lot of forums that we talk about some of the shit stuff. Sorry, I swear quite a lot. I'll be really careful to try not to. But we don't talk about this stuff as barriers, and what happens is people don't feel they can go to their uplines, and they sit with this stuff and then just go, I'm out, and actually miss out on an incredible opportunity that if you could just have these conversations and unpick it. So that's my intention, really, for sharing my experience with you guys. It's just so, oh, hi Shanine, just so to encourage you to go and have a conversation with your upline. Don't sit with this stuff, because it can be such an opportunity for growth if you can have the conversation rather than sit with it and think, oh my goodness, I'm out. But just to say, these are just my experiences I am going to share with you tonight. I by no way have all the answers, and I'm sure like beliefs still come up for me now. This is like a really dynamic journey, and like I say, I just want it to inspire you that if any of these resonate with you, don't feel like you're on your own with them, and don't feel like you have to sit with it and deal with it on your own, because you don't. It's to have that conversation with your upline and work through it. I'm also a massive strengths fan, so that kind of is a golden thread, I guess, through all of the way in which I work and how I try and overcome things. If I come up against a block, I kind of try and use my strengths to unpick it. So they're just, I guess, some health warnings around how I work. But I guess coming to look at some of the beliefs that come up, my biggest issue was confidence, which is really like funny when people meet me, they're sort of like, what? You know, where that doesn't seem like an issue. But at the time that I first came into doTerra, I'd spent 6 years managing one of the youth justice service, but I'd been in a really difficult relationship with our head of service, and as a collective we'd had a lot of problems there. And even though I knew I was really good at my job, I'd kind of reached a point where I was really questioning myself, and I'd gone into a place where I was starting this whole new business, and I had this imposter syndrome of, am I good enough to do this? And I had no idea how this business works. I mean, had someone told me 3 years ago that I would be running doTerra business like I am now, it is inconceivable, and you don't understand how the business works until you're in it. So at the time I enrolled, Rochelle Hubbard, who's my upline, you had to place someone in 14 days and that was it. We didn't have the opportunity like we did with the wholesale customers, kind of where you were, that was it. And she didn't know me. And she said, you know, she's been very gentle and lovely and saying, so how do you think you might do this? And I said, look, I have got no time. I'm setting up this business. I've not got the time to invest in it. I just really like the oils. And she was like, yeah, great. And stuck me on her 4th level. And we all know sort of the implications for that. But because I didn't understand the business and didn't have the confidence that I now have, that had implications in terms of where I was placed and therefore supported. And for me, and I get really emotional when I think about this, the biggest gift doTerra has given me is my self-belief, because I have achieved things through this business that I never could have foreseen was possible or knew were even there as an opportunity. So if anything, whatever happens for me going forward with doTerra, to have that in myself is just such an incredible gift. And if anyone else can experience that through this amazing business, I would really like just encourage you. That is the biggest motivation you can have to keep pushing through. So as I mentioned, I absolutely hated what I knew about network marketing. And when I found out that that was the model doTerra had to sell, I literally wanted to run and hide underneath a rock. I don't know if any of you have seen the doTerra dog video that was on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, it's hilarious. It's really funny, but it's basically this dog running around going, does anyone want peppermint? I've got peppermint. I'm a doTerra rep. And it was crazy how he runs around. But I had this image that would have to be me, that I would have to be like some of the other representatives I saw from other companies, having to post on social media, having to get my friends to do the business. That's what I thought it meant. And it really made me take a step back. And I had to observe the culture of doTerra and learn that that was absolutely not it. But it was such a massive issue for me that, obviously because of my confidence at first, I thought, I'm never going to be able to teach class. I'm never going to learn all this information. I'm never going to be able to stand up and do it. So bless Rochelle, she would come down from up north. She came to run my first class for me. And I was so mortified by the fact it was multi-level marketing. I didn't tell any of my friends that I was doing the business. And so there was Rochelle in sort of full flow teaching this class. And at the end she went, does anyone know you're doing this as a business? I was like, no, absolutely not. I hadn't even told people that that's what I was doing, which now I look at it, I love this model of working. You know, without this way of working, we would not have what we have. You know, the community it brings, the tribe within your team that it creates, the education we can provide, the support, you know, all the creativity, all the space we have to, they're just so versatile. We can do so much with them because of that model. And so it just, I look back and think how much it really triggered me at the start. And now I would never have it any other way, because of the gift that is for us and for our customers, actually. So, I mean, I don't tend to get any trolling or negativity or anything, but I don't know if that's probably because I've got quite a big mouth, but I don't tend to get that negative stuff, but I know that some people do. And for me, I just say to my team, you know, say to your customers, look at what you get, because it is this model. You know, you have me to support you, to educate you. If you walk into a shop and buy an oil, you don't get any of that, you know, and that you're not going to get the benefits of it. So I'm so passionate about this model of working now, which is totally ironic because I hated it. But another thing that was a barrier for me was that my husband's just come in from the shower. Sorry, it's totally distracted me. It was what timing was that? Was other people. I got so overwhelmed, and right at the start, Nathan Bowles ran something called the Rank Advancement Club, and we went on to that, and it was at the beginning, and I had this really defining moment because we'd join these calls each week, and I was on it. I've got a learner strength, and we were there, and I was watching what all these people were doing. And there was one point where somebody was sending like 70 samples to Prague, and I was like, I don't know 70 people here. You know, I felt so overwhelmed by the thought that I had to send all these samples out. Now, I suck at sampling. It's not something that I do in my business. I'm really bad at it. It's just not my strength. So at that point, I remember holding my phone and thinking, I'm out. I can't do this business. I can't do that. I haven't got the numbers. I'm never going to be able to build it. And at that point, I remember putting my phone down, taking a breath, and just thinking, if I carry on doing this, where I'm watching what everybody else is doing all the time and judging myself based on that, I'm just going to talk myself out of doing this. Actually, there's things that I love doing and feel really natural to me. I had to put my blinkers on. I had to stop looking at what everyone else was doing. I had to choose some key leaders globally that inspired me. And that's all I looked at. I wasn't on all the groups. I just had to, otherwise I would have just sat looking, got completely overwhelmed, procrastinated, and done nothing. So what I had to do was take a step back and say, actually, that's just not for me. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get my head down and focus on what I'm good at. And I really remember that. So if there's anyone sat there who's going, oh my gosh, I can't do that bit, or everybody else is doing this, just because somebody's posted something on social media about what they're doing with the business doesn't mean that, one, it's being done effectively. It doesn't mean, that there's a lot of growth there. Just really try and keep your head down and focus on what it is that you need to get done. Another thing that was a belief for me that I think is something that can sometimes feel quite difficult to talk about within doTerra, but it was internalization. And when I first came across it, I was really anti internalizing the oils, so much so that I actually said, I'm not teaching about it. I'm not putting it in my classes. I love the oils, but I am not teaching about internalization. And I had to do some real work on this. Now, I've got a learner strength. So for me, it was looking at the people I really admired. I managed to get my hands on a document from, I think it's the Aromatherapy Institute, that record all the internationally reported reactions to all essential oils. They're completely independent. And I was like, what is all this anger about from aromatherapists and the therapists? What is this about? I have to understand it, because I'm researching it and I can't find any evidence that backs up this anger and aggression, and I can't find it. So I contacted an aromatherapist and they said, oh, actually, this is the document that is what this is fueled on. And I was like, right, brilliant. I am sat here Saturday night, highlighters, printed off this document, and I actually burst out laughing, because at that point I think doTerra had about 6 million users and there were 56 reported reactions, topical, aromatic and internal. And I was expecting to see people in intensive care, organs removed, and it was things like red skin from putting too much oregano on it. Someone had got in a bath with a load of peppermint in. Don't do that, ladies. It was that kind of stuff that I sat there and I thought, if that is what this is all about, when I see the recorded reactions to medications, the number of deaths related to medications, people are getting their knickers in a twist about putting some lemon in the water, and that was the game changer for me. Also watching inspiring women like Dr. Robin Fawcett, and her view on internalization. And it just inspired me. And I was like, you know what? So then I had my first experience of internalizing. And I remember I sat in the bath and I'd taken some because I felt like I was coming down with something. And I had this moment of sheer panic where I ran downstairs to my husband. I was like, I've internalized oils. He's like, what do I do? I was like, I don't know. But obviously lived to tell the tale. And now I'm a massive fan. But I had to go through that journey for myself. And it could have been something that I could have been out of the business for. And I think sometimes people do, because they can get involved in those forums and see it. And at the start, before you've got that real trust in the business like we have when we've done it a bit longer, it can terrify you and think, oh my gosh, I can't be part of it. I mean, personally, I choose not to be on those sites because they trigger me, and I want to get into it and start, you know, chucking it all out, and it's just not a good use of time. But I would say if anyone's sitting with that, do the research. You know, I'm happy to share anything that I've got that helps with that. And I think that tied into that was this start of thinking, I need to be an aromatherapist. You know, when I started this, I've got to qualify, I've got to have this title, I've got to be an aromatherapist. If any of you are sitting with that feeling, let me say now, you absolutely do not need to be an aromatherapist. You can qualify to be an aromatherapist for a £10 course online. You know, for me, I put my faith in the scientists, the doctors, the medical professionals within doTerra who provide the studies and support us to be able to share these oils within the guidelines that they do. But I know that that can make people feel a bit vulnerable, that if they're, you know, well, are you an aromatherapist? I've never been asked if I'm an aromatherapist. I've actually been quite proud at times when I say I'm not an aromatherapist, because you don't need to be to do this business, because I think that makes for other people that go, oh, well, I can do that then. You know, I'm not here to diagnose, to treat. I'm not shouldering the responsibility of having to say, I'm here to make you better. That isn't what our role is. Our role is to guide people to these incredible tools for themselves and to empower them to do their own research. And I think I had a lady in my team who's beautiful, but really struggled, like, oh my God, and would come up with these really like obscure illnesses of people. I'm like, you don't need to worry about that. You know, you just tell them these oils exist. And if an essential oil is going to support them, it's going to be these ones. So that was something that I came up against as well. And also at the beginning, I really struggled with the close of the class because of the cost of the oils. And I think this is something that I see as something that comes up quite frequently for people. And I used to run this class, I'd share my experiences, I'd speak with so much passion, and then it would come to the close and I'd go, anyway, if you want to come up and just have a look at the oils, and everyone would kind of go, sorry, how do I get the oils? And I felt so embarrassed saying how much they were. And what happened was, the way that changed for me was getting experiences from my community. When I would start, people would message me and say, oh my gosh, this has changed my life. Oh my gosh, I've had the best night's sleep I've ever had. This has really helped my child. And I would be moved to tears sometimes by the messages that I get. And then I would see what people spend their money on. You know, what do people spend on a night out? What do people spend on a pair of night trainers for their kids? This kind of stuff. And I thought, you know what? I know the value of those oils and what they can do. And now I don't think twice about saying the close of class. They are worth every penny and more, as far as I'm concerned. So now doing that class, I feel really strongly. Even when they put the price up, which was the first time they'd done, it didn't make any difference to me in terms of people enrolling, because I believe so much in what people can get from these oils. And I always encourage people, if they feel that way, go back and think, how have the oils changed your life? What have the oils brought to you? And if you're scared to share that with people, you're stopping people having that in their lives as well. So that was certainly something I had to move through, but I know it's something particularly at the start when you're doing the business comes up for people. Another thing that came up for me was that I had no community. I had no network. And I remember I'd done the first class in my front room with Rochelle, and then the second one I went for it. I invited everyone I knew. I hired a local hall, the class was packed, loads of people enrolled. I was like, this is great. And then I got in the car with Rochelle and I looked at her and I went, well, that's that then. That's everybody I know. I'm done. I don't know who else to invite. And she just burst out laughing and she said, you'll invite them. And I was like, where are they going to come from? So something that worked for me was collaboration. Now, this isn't everybody's cup of tea, but because I had this blank canvas and was going from nothing, but I felt like I had a lot to offer because the oils are so versatile. So I looked around at people that I wanted to work with. So I looked at naturopaths, I looked at nutritionists, yoga teachers, mental health practitioners, anyone in the health and well-being field that I really admired or what could see working well together, and just connected with them. You know, it wasn't about going, hi, my name's Adele, I'm doing the oils, do you want to come to a class? It was about building genuine relationships. Now, this is a slower game and it takes time, you know, but actually it's given me this amazing community of women that inspire me. And even if they're not doing the oils, I've built amazing friendships with women. I've built this community. I'm their person that they might not be doing anything with the oils, but they'll send people to me because they trust me and they have this relationship. And I spent the first probably 2 years, I spent a lot of time in coffee shops, just talking to people, just building relationships with people. And that really accelerated my growth within that industry generally. So if you're feeling like, oh, I haven't got this, I haven't had anyone that I can think of that I reached out to and said, I really love what you're doing, I'd love to learn more about you, that's turned around and gone, no. Everyone has said, that's lovely. How flattering would that feel to you if someone said that to you, to want to come and have that just connection to learn from? So I'd really encourage people to do that if you're feeling a bit stuck. And it sounds a bit funny because I would describe myself as an extroverted introvert. So I can do the talking, I can do the events, I can be on stage, but it absolutely exhausts me. I'm an introvert. I fill my cup by being at home by myself with a cup of herbal tea and a book. That is where I fill my cup. But our business, that isn't it. You know, we need to be connecting with people. We need to be speaking to people. We need to, you know, be going out and doing the events sometimes. So what I had to learn to do was to manage that. And whilst that won't resonate with everybody about being introverted, what I hope does is that it's knowing yourself, knowing what your strengths are, and creating your diary to support you in that so you don't get burnt out, because this business is addictive. I wake up thinking about this business, I go to sleep thinking about this business. So you have to manage yourself within it. So if I know I'm doing an event that I'm going to be around a lot of people and talking and interacting, I'll always clear my diary and protect it the next day so that I've got that downtime to be able to rebalance. Because I quite often feel like I need to lay down in a dark room with a Pinot Grigio drip when I've been to some kind of busy event like that, which probably leads me on to something else actually that I found as a block, is I didn't feel like I fit in. I looked around at the people I saw doing doTerra, and everyone were these amazing people who looked like they drank green juice all the time and like led these really pure, beautiful lives. And yeah, I like doing that stuff 80% of the time, but I also wear massive hoops, listen to Stormzy, and like drinking Prosecco sometimes. And I was like, oh my goodness, where do I fit into this? I'm not a doTerra fit. I'm not like these people, but I have to be authentic to myself. I can't be something I'm not. I can't pretend that I'm a different life. And actually, it was when we were in Bulgaria, I had this real, like, I did a post on my page where I was like, this is me. You know, most of the time I do this, but sometimes I do things that aren't good for me. And that felt so freeing. And actually what I've realized I'm really good at is being a link between really conventional mainstream people who need support and bringing them into like this more alternative stuff. So my network and community aren't people who are all plant-based, and you know, there are a few people like that, but they're actually really busy mums trying to hold it all together like a lot of us are. And and actually by being myself and not what I thought I had to be in doTerra has attracted more people to me. So the thing for me was doTerra's mission statement that they want to get and these oils into every home, and that takes every type of person. There is no right or wrong person to be in doTerra. It is about stepping out saying, this is me, and you'll attract your tribe. So really they're sort of the main ones. I mean, I could go on, you know, the things I had the number of hours I was working versus my income. You know, if you're going for it in this business, the hours you are working are not going to be congruent with what you're bringing home. Some days you're going to feel like you're working for pennies because you're holding on to that vision and you're going for it, and it does come. And then there's other ones, you know, I will never find any builders. I've now got the most incredible, inspiring team. And, you know, they come, it happens. A big one for me was my husband didn't support me. Not that he didn't support me, he didn't get it. You know, he works in the construction industry. He goes to work, people pay him. You know, I was going to work, I'd be at Vegan Life all day, and he'd go, how much money did you make? But nothing, but I made some great connections, you know, and having to work through that stuff at home, which he's totally on board now, but it took some work. You know, I couldn't use social media. I'm still winging it a bit, but you know, you have to grow into this stuff. I don't have time. You know, we find the time. I don't really watch TV now because I'm doing other things with it. You know, I set the business up with a 2-year-old with me, coming to meetings, coming to coffee shops, coming to that, because I believed in this. There was something that was just driving me, and you find a way to do it. So I'm not sure if any of that stuff is kind of resonating with people. I hope that it does to a degree. And I think if ever you start to feel stagnant, one, speak to your upline, and to have a look at the belief summit that doTerra have done. Honestly, at each stage of that, it's so accurate. If you feel like something isn't working for you in terms of the beliefs, and you're stuck at a rank, look at your beliefs around that. There's so much we can do. We can use the oils, you know, we can use the oils to shift stuff. I'm a massive fan of something called emotional freedom technique, which is tapping, which you can shift the beliefs in, you know. And if you don't believe that you can do it, you know, I ended up being a top enroller in the UK last year. You know, I've hit a rank. I never thought I'd get to Premier. You know, when I hit Premier, I was like, oh my God, how did that happen? And this stuff just grows. And now I can put, you know, I didn't start off believing in the business opportunity. You know, they talk about rank, I think, whatever. I'm not interested in rank. I just love teaching about the oils. I just love speaking to people about them. I didn't invest any time in how I could structure my business to get to rank. But as I believe when you're using the oils, your vibration shifts, and this stuff starts to shift organically for you. So I'm conscious that I've kind of rattled through some of that stuff, but I hope that it just opens the doorway. If you're feeling any of this stuff, just opens the doorway for you to spend time with your uplines and talk it through, because it's all surmountable.
That's fantastic as well. Absolutely brilliant. I'm going to say to people, if they've got any questions for you, if this is all right, if they type them in the chat. I've got some questions, and because I host, I get to ask. But I'll ask firstly. Yeah, it was super cool for a couple of people in our team who are interested in Reiki and using the oils with Reiki, which is something you have a lot of experience with. Perhaps you could share just a little bit about that and the oils you use. And cool.
So I basically, every client I get is my next doTerra customer in my head. Okay, they need the oils in their life. So how I do this, and this is relevant for any therapy treatment, and I could probably do a whole session on this, but anyone who comes in, I do their consultation, and in my head I'm thinking which oils are going to support them. Whilst they're coming for a treatment, I'm thinking like that, and I'll always give them a sample of something at the end to take away. So say they're telling me they suffer with headaches, sleep, anxiety, whatever it is, they get an oil to take away. And I don't say to them that time, come to my class, or unless they're really keen. It's just a gentle way of introducing them. At the beginning of the treatment, I always give them some oil to smell to get them into the zone, and I explain that the oils that I use are different. And whatever it is, that this oil is going to do X. Usually wild orange, I would start with. Then I do, when they book in with me again, I follow up with them, and that's usually where I get them on the class. But what I would say is, if you've got specific Reiki practitioners, Debbie Lawrence does a treatment called doTerra Reiki, which is a bit of a mouthful, but it's by far my most popular treatment. It's incredible. And she trains people all over the UK in doing that. So for Reiki specifically, she's created a treatment that has now been recognized. You get insured for it. It's she's not, I want to say plagiarized, it's not that word, but you know, when you get it protected. It's a recognized treatment, and it's incredible. Clients love it. It's a really good way to touch people with the oils and then kind of continue. It works with the doTerra model. Patented. That's it, Shanine. Thank you.
Awesome, cool. So you mentioned Strengths and Strengths Finder.
Yeah.
So would you like to share yours and where you did them first? Did you do it from the book or an event or?
Well, this was the social worker in me absolutely loved this. Okay, this was like I sat and did my strengths and I burst out laughing. Went, I literally get my entire life now. So I've got achiever, hardworking, to a point that I need some serious boundaries in my life, activator, individualization, strategic, and input. So I've got one from each category, and I sat there and I was like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm just someone, I just do things. So I should probably be more reflective sometimes and think things through. But I go, right, I'm going to create a customer day. And then I get the venue booked and I've got the tickets out and the event's done. And that's like within 30 minutes. And then I go, need to think this through a little bit more. So I can see how they all play out. But I would really encourage anyone who hasn't done their strengths to do it. I use it with how I coach my team. And it really helps me understand where they're at and what's going to help them. They're amazing. They're such great tools. And you can get the coaching cards. Melinda's amazing. Honestly, like I can't encourage them. It's actually my onboarding process for builders to do that. That's the first thing I ask people to do. And they say they want to do the business. First, I say fall in love with the oils. And then once they say, no, I want to go for it, I say, go and do your strengths and let's talk. And how quickly they do their strengths is a really good indicator for me of where they're at.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we bought the book. I don't know. I think we've bought the Strengths Finder book and the Strengths Based Leadership book, and we've done the tests. So and did the tests. It's good fun.
It's a really nice thing to do as a team. We did it, and everyone made a roller ball up with their strengths, and it was their strengths roller ball to have and help balance it. It's lovely because it's so individual, and we all grow this business completely differently. There's no right or wrong way, and I love that.
Yeah, awesome. Really fantastic. I know you talked a little bit about your husband, but you told us quite a bit more in Bulgaria. Do you want to say a little bit about that and that coming back and?
Yeah, it was really hard actually for the first, because I went from having a really well-paying job and earning a lot of money and being able to financially contribute. I've always been financially independent. We're massive feminist value base, and suddenly I was like, oh my God, I'm not earning any money. But in order to grow my business, I had to be out of the family home a lot more than I ever had been. It was unsociable hours, it was evenings, it was weekends. And my husband had always worked weekends. And suddenly he wasn't working weekends because I needed him to be at home. And yet we weren't earning any money. So he wasn't working, bringing the money in, but I was out. He was having to step, because of my work, I use the words masculine and feminine energy a lot. So if it doesn't make sense, just shout. But he had to step more into his feminine and do more domestic, take the kids to the parties and get the kids present, make the packed lunches, had to step into doing all that stuff, which he was great at and fine. But that was an added thing on him, as well as all of the financial responsibility. And there was me swanning around putting oils on people as far as he was concerned. And, he'd come back and it was completely, I was having to learn this new way of working. I'd done effectively 9 to 5 and someone paid me. And then I had to learn that actually that wasn't how I was going to have to grow this business through building relationships with people. And so not only was I learning that, he was having to. And it wasn't when he saw it, once I earned an income, and he was like, okay, I get it. And I get that. I didn't know that I'd have been quite so patient. I think and had this belief, especially when I was going, babe, I just don't know. It's just a belief. And he's like, well, when do you think this will happen? I'm like, I don't know. It's, it depends who comes. It depends how busy, all these question marks. And so I got it, but I literally had to filter him out. That was how I dealt with it, in the most respectful way possible. I had to not absorb it. It kind of went in and out again, because had I absorbed it, I'd have gone, I've got to go and get a proper job. That's what I'd have done. and I was just lucky that I had this sort of strength that I just knew, and nothing was going to stop me, and that he was supportive and he was willing to sort of step into that stuff with a little bit of encouragement. You know, it's still a work in progress, it's not perfect, but we do this tango, you know, it's like this dance, like too much, and he'll say like, babe, we've not seen you for a month, you know, what's going on? But that's the beauty of the work that we do. You know, January I worked every day from the 6th of January up until last Sunday, but I'm taking April off. You know, I'll keep the business ticking over, but that's the beauty of what we do. I think it comes in seasons. So that's what we felt into as a family, that sometimes I'm here loads, I'm here all school holidays, I'm here but other times I'm out there, you know. So like I'm off to Kenya at the end of March with doTerra, which is going to be amazing, but that's a week, you know, that feels like quite, but we'll do it, you know. It's always changing, but yeah, he's on board now.
Yeah, cool. Cool. So you took my interest with Kenya. What are you doing in Kenya?
I'm going out with doTerra for the co-impact sourcing.
Fabulous.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, my inner social worker is doing a really happy dance, although I'm not sure how I'm going to cope with it. I'm like, oh my God, I said I might bring back a little orphan. Is that all right? I'll be able to cope with it. But yeah, I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah, super fantastic. So you also mentioned one of your strengths is learner, which is my number one. So
amazing.
Favourite books or other places to learn, or?
Oh my gosh. If you could see by the side of my bed, I've got this pile of books like this. I'm like an Amazon addict. I'm like, I've got to get that book. I've got to get that book. So I think at the start of it was books like I wanted to learn everything I could about the oils. I think it changes depending where you are on your doTerra journey.
Yeah.
So at the start, I wanted the oil magic books, modern essentials. I've got all the apps, you know, and I would just spend hours and hours learning about how to use the oils and safety and things like that. Whereas now it's more around the self-development stuff. I love personal development, and I heard a phrase recently and it said doTerra is a personal development journey wrapped in essential oils. And I truly believe if you're not ready to do the work on yourself, your business isn't going to grow. I believe that, and that might feel uncomfortable for some people, and there's actually conversations I've had with people in my team where I have said, unless you are willing to grow, please do not enroll people. I want you to be in this, because I don't want customers coming to our team enrolling when you're a bit wavery and you're not ready for that, and then you decide actually I don't want to do it, and those customers are left with no support, no continued education, no one to go to, because that starts to give doTerra a bad name. And I feel so passionately about what we can offer. You know, if you decide not to do it, that's great, but make sure that your customers have got a handover to your upline so that they get the support and they get that, you know, these oils are powerful. They need someone there to guide them with how to use it. So, and I think that stuff comes from your personal growth. We're sitting with this stuff. I've loved that. So that's what my books really are at the moment. A podcast. Ange Peters is my total girl crush. I love her energy. She is fierce, you know. So that's not for everybody. Listen to some different podcasts. You know, I find it, you know, time is our totally non-renewable resource we all struggle with. So having a podcast on in the car journey, I maximize every second I've got of my day. You know, if I'm in the car in traffic, I've got a podcast on. If I'm going for a run, I've got a podcast on. You know, trying to maximize all of that. So yeah, that I haven't got a top book because there's so many. I just think it's finding someone who resonates with you. And my stuff isn't always about doTerra. You know, I've got is it Al Helrod? He did the magic morning or something. I love things like that, things that help me maximize my time and get the maximum out of. I've got a little joiner. Anyway, like small simple things that have a maximum outcome, you know, and your well-being, looking after yourself. That is one of the most important things. I couldn't operate like I do if I didn't have a strict self-care routine.
So absolutely, yeah, fantastic. So Pete's just said, yeah, great to hear someone validating what we talk about all the time, personal development, and yeah, use your time carefully. Yeah, Fantastic, Shanine. That's superb. And yeah, every minute and every day. So
Yeah.
I listen on the radio on the way to work, but then it's podcast and Audible on the way home.
Yeah.
And just maximise that.
Pockets of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's been amazing. And as I've said to you, you know, I'd love to come and help and share our story as well with your guys. But
Thank
yeah,
you,
I
darling.
knew when we met you and then we heard you speak in our sort of leaders training was going to be incredible. And I just really wanted our team and our wider team with Peter and Niels as well to just kind of, you know, hear your story, hear the boundaries, hear how you overcame them. Because like you say, so many people sit with that and they don't know where to share it or what to do with it or how to overcome it. So it's been incredible. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. I hope it was useful, and I hope
Amazing.
everyone comes and talks to you now about all their blockages. Get rid of them. They're not serving you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Fantastic.
thank you, Henny.
Yeah.
Take care.
Amazing. We'll connect really soon. All right.
Lots of love. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
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 Bye.